The alarm had gone off. Or maybe he had simply ignored it. Hiroshi opened his eyes without moving, his gaze lingering on the ceiling above him. The dorm room was still washed in pale morning light, softened by curtains that had never been fully closed. Someone in the next bed was breathing heavily. Another trainee rolled over, making the bed frame creak. His phone vibrated, once, then again. He closed his eyes for half a second longer before blindly reaching toward the nightstand. The screen lit up.
Did you sleep well? Don't forget to eat. Do your best today, okay? I'm proud of you.
He stayed perfectly still. The message had come from far away, not just in distance. He stared at the screen a moment longer than he should have, as though the reply might somehow right itself. Instead, he locked the phone. A loud thud echoed through the room. Someone had jumped out of bed too fast.
Are you serious?
Another voice, still thick with sleep, fumbled for a phone.
Wait, what time is it?
Silence. Then,
We're late.
that was all it took. Hiroshi moved instantly. The blanket slipped to the floor. His body was still heavy with exhaustion, but already rushing forward. Around him, the dormitory came alive in the messiest possible way. Hurried footsteps, half-awake voices, a gym bag zipped shut too quickly. No one bothered checking. No one needed confirmation. They all knew. The day had already begun without them. They spilled into the hallway almost at the same time, still half asleep but already in a hurry. Doors slammed behind them. Footsteps quickened without ever finding the same rhythm. Nobody was really talking, just unfinished sentences, tired sighs, and the occasional, "Hurry up," thrown over a shoulder. Hiroshi kept pace with the others, his backpack hanging half open from one shoulder. His phone was still in his hand. His mother's message remained on the screen. Simple, warm, normal. For a brief second, he wanted to reply, just one word. Then he glanced at the time, drew a quiet breath, and slipped the phone back into his pocket without typing anything. It wasn't the right moment. It almost never was. Outside, the cold morning air hit him harder than he expected. It woke him instantly, just not enough to chase away the fatigue. His body kept moving. His mind lagged behind. He picked up his pace. Starlight's training center wasn't far. He knew the route by heart. It was convenient. At least, that was what he kept telling himself every time he walked it, without ever wondering why he had never really tried to find another way. The music was already playing when he pushed open the practice room door. Not loud enough to drown everything else out, just enough to dictate the rhythm of the day. Some trainees had clearly been there for a while. Their movements were sharp, their bodies already warm, as though they had never left the room. Others arrived behind him, quieter and stiffer, almost trying to blend into the background without drawing attention. Nobody said a word, but the difference was obvious. Hiroshi set his bag down without rushing, taking a moment to scan the room. The groups had already formed. The routines had too. At the back, a few trainees repeated the same choreography with almost irritating precision. Nearby, another group started over again, and again, still unable to move as one. A coach walked between them without slowing down. He didn't need to speak. One look was enough. Someone corrected themselves immediately. Hiroshi began warming up. His movements were mechanical at first, still weighed down by the morning. His shoulders felt tight. His footing wasn't as steady as he wanted it to be. He noticed it immediately, and it irritated him far more than he cared to admit. Someone's eyes briefly met his. He vaguely recognized the boy. One of the trainees he saw almost every day without ever really talking to. The moment lasted no more than a second. But that was enough. In this place, every glance meant something. Even when nobody spoke, the music changed. Someone sighed, already exhausted. Another trainee straightened as though the day were starting all over again. Hiroshi drew a slow breath. The morning had barely begun, and he already felt behind. The music started again without warning. Faster this time. Some adapted instantly. Others hesitated for barely a heartbeat, long enough to be noticed. Hiroshi followed, adjusting his footing, correcting each movement as he went. His body responded, just not as cleanly as he wanted. He felt it in his shoulders, in the almost invisible delay between himself and everyone else. Beside him, someone sighed in frustration. Another trainee repeated an entire sequence before anyone even told him to. Nobody was really talking, but everyone was reacting. That was the rhythm here. Watch, correct, and start again. A glance drifted toward him before moving away. Another lingered just a little longer. No open challenge. Not yet. But the attention was there. Quiet and constant. Hiroshi focused harder. Not to stand out or to prove anything. Simply because he refused to be the one slowing everyone else down. That alone was enough. The music stopped without warning. Silence settled over the room, heavier than the music itself. Someone had entered, the coach. He didn't waste time explaining.
We're evaluating.
One word. That was all it took. That single word was enough. No one asked for clarification. Almost instinctively, everyone moved into position, each finding their place without really looking at the others. Hiroshi felt his heartbeat shift. Not faster, as though every movement was suddenly worth a little more than it had been a moment ago. One by one, then in small groups. The routines unfolded, the same choreography and sequences, but not the same pressure. When his turn came, Hiroshi stepped forward without hesitation. He didn't feel ready, but waiting any longer would not change anything. The music began. He fell into it immediately. This time, his body responded better, sharper, more stable. Even so, he could still feel the tiny mistakes, the details only trainees noticed, and more importantly, the ones the coach noticed. The final beat faded. He stopped. Without looking at anyone, it had become a habit. Or maybe it was simply easier than searching for answers in other people's faces.
Again.
He gave the slightest nod, then started over. When everything finally came to an end, no one moved right away. The music had stopped, but their bodies hadn't. There were heavy breathing, shoulders still tight with effort. Some trainees dropped straight onto the floor. Others remained standing, as though they were still waiting for something. Hiroshi ran a hand across the back of his neck. The exhaustion was real, but it wasn't what bothered him most. He couldn't quite tell what he had done well, or what still hadn't been enough, and no one was about to tell him. The coach walked out without a single comment, as though every decision had already been made. A quiet wave of relief spread through the room. Sighs, a few nervous laughs, short conversations that came too quickly to truly ease the tension. It felt like the end, but nobody really believed it. Not here. The room didn't empty right away. Some trainees were still talking in low voices, sitting against the wall as they tried to catch their breath. Others lingered without really moving, their eyes fixed on the floor or the mirrors, as though they were waiting for something they couldn't quite name. Hiroshi remained standing a moment longer. There was no reason for him to stay. And yet, he didn't leave either. The light had changed. The afternoon sun filtered through the blinds, softer now, washing the room in an unexpected calm after the constant noise of the day. It was supposed to be over. Just another Tuesday, another practice session, with hours of training and evaluation, then back to the dorm. Nothing more. And yet, something refused to settle. The door opened. The sound itself was ordinary, barely noticeable, but the effect it had on the room was anything but. The conversations died away without anyone asking for silence. Several trainees straightened almost at the same time, as though their bodies had reacted before their minds had caught up. Seong walked in. His eyes swept across the room without lingering. Then someone stepped in behind him, a boy. He did nothing remarkable as he entered. He didn't try to draw attention to himself. He didn't look at anyone first. And yet, he already stood apart. His posture was straight, steady, as though a part of this place already belonged to him. Nothing arrogant or performative, simply grounded.
Put your water bottles down. Turn the music off and watch carefully.
He never raised his voice. He didn't need to. No one kept doing what they were doing. The music stopped. The last movements came to an end. Even the trainees who hadn't understood froze on instinct. Hiroshi straightened as well. Without thinking, just like everyone else. But his eyes drifted toward the boy standing behind Seong, and stayed there.
This is Kai. He's now a trainee, just like the rest of you.
A brief pause. long enough for everyone to adjust their stance.
But he'll be leading Starlight's next project. Starting today, he isn't training only for himself anymore.
The words settled over the room, not louder than the others. But they stayed. Leading. Nothing moved. Yet everything changed. It was there, in the looks that immediately slid away from Kai, and in the others that held his gaze without flinching, quietly measuring him. Hiroshi didn't move. The word was still turning over in his mind, not joining, not participating, leading. So, this is how it begins.
You all have a chance, but he has a mission.
No one answered, but this silence was different. Kai still hadn't smiled. He was watching, not the room as a whole, but the people, one after another, with calm, almost methodical attention, as though he were already trying to understand them or choose them. His gaze passed over several faces without stopping, then slowed, only slightly. Hiroshi didn't look away. He wasn't even sure why. It wasn't a challenge or defiance, just an instinctive refusal to be the first to lower his eyes. For one brief second, everything else disappeared. The exhaustion, the noise, and the entire day. Only this remained. That look, and the unmistakable feeling that something had just shifted. Hiroshi drew a slow breath. Without breaking eye contact, he didn't know yet what was about to change. But one thing was already clear. Nothing would ever be the same again.